is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, with a series on the line in the bottom of the ninth inning yesterday at Great American Ballpark, Tucker Barnhart delivered the game-winning hit, plating Brandon Phillips. And after losing the first game of the series to the Rockies, the Reds win the final two. 7-2 so far here at home. So now we turn the page on this Thursday night, and we're hoping to dodge the rain in this one tonight. Game 1 of 4, the first place Chicago Cubs in the National League Central come to town to take on the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. The Cubs swept the Reds last week, but certainly the first game of that series really set the tone. And Brandon Finnegan nearly made Reds history by pitching a no-hitter.
Yeah, had he been able to finish that no-hitter, obviously we wouldn't be talking about anything else but Brandon Finnegan. But he was outstanding in the 6 2/3. He was out there. He ran out of gas towards the end. But I really love the way he was aggressive after the Cubs in the strike zone early on. Used his changeup very effectively the second and third time through the order. This young man is out to show everybody in the baseball world that he deserves to be a starting pitcher.
Well, he's going toe-to-toe tonight with undeniably right now, today, as we go into the game tonight on this April 21st, the best pitcher in Major League Baseball in Jake Arrieta.
Well, you go back to last year and the last 15 regular season starts that he put together for the Cubs last year in 2015, and then what he's done so far this year. You're talking about a 14-0 record, an earned run average of about a half a run a game. I mean, his workouts are legendary. He does Pilates, he does yoga. I mean, this guy is so dedicated to his craft, and it is really showing. When he makes a mistake, it's not an ordinary mistake. It's a mistake about 97 miles an hour with a little bit of cut on it. This guy is a dominating right-handed pitcher. He's got a breaking ball that can put you away. He pinpoint control of his fastball. If he's on his game, I'm not sure there's a tougher challenge in the National League right now.
Well, we'll see if the Reds are up to it. I'll bet you they are. When we come back, Jim Day will talk what we saw yesterday from Bruce and Duvall. Back-to-back jacks. JD standing by with so much more. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealers. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Not the most perfect weather for tonight's game, but hopefully we can get it in and get it finished. Temperatures will be pretty warm in the upper 60s by the start of the game, lower 60s by the end of the game with on and off showers, some which could be a little heavy at times. Let's go Reds.
We're all clear right now. Seems to be breaking up on the radar. We'll keep our fingers crossed that continues. I'm Jim Day. Yesterday, Reds came up with a big series victory. They had to come back to do it. And they did something they have yet to do this year, but Jay Bruce provided the long ball. And then Adam Duvall, who it's been really nice to see, has some pop out there in left field. Back-to-back jacks. The first time we've seen that out of the Reds hitters this year. And again, as I said, Duvall, nice to see in left field. Jay Bruce just too shy of tying Adam Dunn for the all-time record here at Great American Ballpark for home runs. But tonight, a big test. They'll have to get those long balls, if any, off of perhaps the best pitcher in baseball, Jake Arrieta. Up next, it's Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh. They have all the play-by-play action of Reds baseball is looking for a little revenge against those Cubbies on Fox Sports Ohio.
Go today when Brandon Finnegan, the native of Fort Worth, Texas, turned 23 years young. And he is ready to go here tonight, off to a great start so far this year. And of course, he's squaring off with Joe Maddon's Chicago Cubs, who come in with a record of 11 wins against 4 losses. Let's take a look at Chicago's starting lineup. Dexter Fowler having an incredible start to this season. He'll lead off and play center. Jason Hayward in right. Chris Bryant is at third. Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman. Jorge Soler in left. Ben Zobrist at second. A ladder third of Addison Russell. David Ross behind the plate for Jake Arrieta. 3-0 record. Finnegan could easily be 3-0. Certainly should be 2-0. Instead, it's 1-0. And in his last start, Chris, he gave up 4 runs. None of them were earned runs against St. Louis.
Well, he doesn't let that kind of thing bother him, Tom. I really think his temperament is one extra asset that you have to really judge when you're looking at Brandon Finnegan. I mean, he is just a bulldog type pitcher, and I think what will be interesting to watch tonight is how the Cubs go about facing Finnegan. They had never faced him before, and they're a very patient team. But in that game against Finnegan last week, They went out and they swung a lot of pitches early in the count. They were ultra aggressive against Finnegan. Now they're known as being very non-aggressive against a lot of other pitchers. We'll see if their game plan tonight is any different than it was there at Wrigley Field. Maybe they're going to sit back and watch him and make him pitch a little bit more. Well, we'll find out probably here in the first inning.
Let's take a look at the Reds on defense presented by Ford. Scheffler getting the nod tonight against a right-handed Arrieta in center, flanked by Duvall and Bruce. Regular cast along the infield, and Mesoraco part of the battery with Brandon Finnegan. In that game against Chicago, 6 2/3 innings before he allowed a base hit, then he allowed a walk. They got an out, but the bullpen came in. Here's the first pitch to Fowler. First pitch swinging. That I answer your question. And that ball driven all the way to the wall. And Fowler is off to a start unlike any other player in Major League Baseball. It is the 35th time he has reached base this season, and that is 4 more than the next closest player, Joe Mauer.
Looking first pitch fastball, getting first pitch fastball, and just gets that top hand rolling on it.
Fowler leads the major leagues with an on-base percentage of up over .525. Ranks second in the National League with his .392 batting average, trailing only Daniel Murphy of the Washington National. There's strike one to the left-handed batting right fielder, his first year in Chicago, Jason Hayward. Finnegan left that game against Chicago with a 3-0 lead. There's a broken bat pulled foul after he allowed the hit. They took him out of the game. 2 runs scored that were charged to Finnegan despite allowing just 1 base hit. And the 2 runs came when this batter, Jason Hayward, had a 2-out 2-run single against reliever Tony Cingrani.
That was easily the biggest hit of the night, and it came on an 0-2 pitch, and a pitch that was very much like the one he just fouled off and broke his bat on. Came up and in on him, did not get jammed quite as much, and was able to drop that in front of the right fielder for a base hit.
You know, it's incredible when you look up and down the Cubs batting order outside of Fowler. There is not anybody that is having even a good start offensively to this year. Nobody. Hayward's hitting .179, Bryant in the 230s, Rizzo and Soler batting in the 100s, Zobrist at 212, Russell at 222.
All right, so if you look at that individually, the question you have to ask is, well, why have they scored the second most runs of any team in the National League? Only the Cardinals have scored more runs than the Cubs. And they're batting as a team 30 points higher than the Cubs are.
Well, you start looking up and down that column, walks. They have drawn a whopping 74 walks. And despite the fact that as a team they're hitting .236, their on base percentage is 100 points higher than that.
Interesting to know, really, the top 4 teams in the National League and the number of walks received are 4 teams in the National League Central Division.
Struck him out swinging. Good hard slider down and away, and Hayward gone without advancing the runner, and that's out number 1 in the opening inning with Bryant.
You said it right when you said a good hard slider from Finnegan. He's actually throwing that slider this year a tick or 2 harder than he did last year. And some people who are really slicing up the numbers feel like that is really something to be looking at very hard, because a hard slider is a lot harder to hit than a soft slider.
Bryant at .233 to start the year. He has 2 home runs. They came in back-to-back games when the Reds were at Wrigley Field this time last week. And he has 7 runs batted in. Is hit a country mile. If it's fair, it's long gone. It's fair, and it's long gone. So all three of Chris Bryant's home runs so far this year have come against the Reds. And he gives them a 2-0 lead here in the first inning.
Well, he missed with a fastball outside, and he comes with another high one right here, and Bryant's ready for it.
Nothing Chicago, and now the batter is Anthony Rizzo. Reds put on the shift defensively with three infielders between the first and second base bags. Rizzo fouls it away, strike one. Now, we mentioned Rizzo only hitting a .189. He only has a grand total of 10 hits, but he's made the most of the 10 hits. He has 4 home runs, 13 runs batted in, and an on-base percentage of nearly .350. That is right at Cozart, softly struck, 2 away in the inning. That home run measured off the bat of Bryant at 420 feet. Well, what a rookie year that young man had a season ago. You may remember he did not even start the year with a major league club. He only missed 11 games, wound up playing at 151. Drove in 99 runs, hitting 26 home runs. One of the great rookie seasons in the history of the Cubs franchise. Off the end of the bat, and waiting is Shevler. So a double by Fowler, a 2-run home run by Bryant. And now the Reds play catch-up as they bat for the first time, trailing by 2. Get a 2-run home run in the top of the first from Chris Bryant. And here's a Red starting lineup tonight. The red-hot Zach Cozart leads off at short. Suarez at third. Reds need Votto to get going along with Mesoraco, who's batting down in the 6th hole. Duvall bats 7th, Shevler 8th, and Finnegan 9th. And what an incredible run it has been for Jake Arrieta, the 2015 National League Cy Young Award winner. Won 22 games and had a 1.77 ERA in 33 starts. And the numbers very similar to begin this year.
Well, he's on a roll. We showed you the roll that he was on, but if you look back at what he has done from a standpoint.
Oh, David Ross going hard into that railing down by Jim Day, and I think that was a backup catcher down there over to help him out. Was Tucker Barnhart, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was his old buddy Tucker Barnhart down there. Tucker was just coming up in the minor leagues when David Ross was here catching Bronson Arroyo every 5th day.
Boy, great camera work down there all over it. Jack Leiter manning the camera down there, and a beautiful shot coming right out of him. One and one to Kozar. Now you carry over from last year and into his second start this year. Arrieta had gone 32 consecutive scoreless innings pitched. It came to an end when he gave up 3 runs in his second start of the year when he beat Arizona. In his last time out, the second time in 3 starts where he shut the opponent out. 5 hits in 8 innings against Colorado.
Yeah, the start that I think is I mean, there's so many different stats you can start putting together about Jake Arrieta. But one I think is interesting because a lot of people simply poo-poo the quality start. You know, 6 innings, 3 runs or less given up. Well, if you go back to last year, he's closing in on the major league record that has been held by Bob Gibson on the most consecutive quality starts. And he's got 23 of them right now. During that time, his record is 19-1. That's a good starting point for a goal for a starting pitcher. Of course, you have to have a pretty good bullpen to nail it down if you leave. And I'm not saying that he went all those many games where he only went 6 innings.
There's a one-hopper down to Bryant. One away. Oh, and by the way, just to cap that off for the 23 in a row, his ERA is under 1. 0.9 runs per 9 innings.
All right, so if you give a quality start, the worst numbers you can, meaning 6 innings of 3-run baseball, your earned run average is 4.75. So he's at the other end of maybe they ought to have an ultra quality start and have his picture on the top of that title.
Eugenio Suarez checks in at .291, 4 home runs, 10 runs batted in. Fastball on the outside corner is straight. You know, some of these numbers we're giving, and we don't like to overwhelm you with numbers, but I mean, we're talking about stuff that goes down, you know, in the history of baseball. His 1.77 ERA last year was the lowest by a Cubs starting pitcher in almost 100 years. You've got to go back to 1919. You know, last year he was the 5th pitcher that's won 22 games or more while not losing 6 or more. An ERA under 2. 1912 was the last time that was done. So, you know, what Arrieta did last year wasn't just some incredible hot streak and, you know, okay, there have been other guys that have done it. There really aren't. Well, the Reds are hoping, of course, to change all that here tonight. 2-2 on Suarez. Right at Rizzo for out number 2. Take a look at Chicago on defense. Really the same group you're going to see pretty much all year long, with the exception of David Ross, who normally catches John Lester and John Lester only, but tonight working with Arrieta. After the injury to Cincinnati native Kyle Schwarber, Soler getting the playing time in left field. Ross did not start any of the games, a 3-game series to begin this road trip in St. Louis. Cubs won the first 2 before losing yesterday. Joey Votto looks at a strike. Votto at 182 has 10 hits in 55 at bats and has not had a hit in his last 16 at bats, which, by the way, matches the longest hitless streak of his career. You've got to go all the way back to 2009. But as we know, it won't be for a lack of effort. Votto is out at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Just grinding away, trying to find, you know, whatever hole, if there is a hole or whatever it is, he's trying to find it to right the ship.
Oh, he's already looking like he's in 2-strike mode as much as he's choked up here.
That's a short hop to Russell, inning over. So hitless in his last 17. That is a career long for Votto. 2-0, end of 1. Storyline focuses on the Cubs' best starts over the last 80 seasons. And you see only to that 1970 team, 11-4, matching that of 85. That was on the heels of going to the playoffs in 84. 75, and a season which will always live in the memories of Cub fans, 1969. A year where they were the best team in the National League from April, May, June, July till about the third week in August. And then the wheels completely fell off. Not only did they not win their division, they finished behind the Miracle Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. Those were the days you may remember, the late great Ron Santo after wins when the Cub clubhouse was down to third base line. He'd click his heels running after a win. Allen swung on and fouled back out of play. Harry Carey at the time was the legendary play-by-play announcer of the St. Louis Cardinals in 1969. And as the Cardinals started to catch fire at the end of every single Cardinal win, while Santo is clicking his heels for the Cubs. That ball is in the air to deep right center field off the bat of Zobrist. 3-0. First home run as a Chicago Cub for Ben Zobrist.
Well, the fastballs that were swing and misses in Wrigley are being hit very sharply right now. Looks like the Cubs, after having seen Brandon Finnegan one time, are looking for the ball up in the zone. He's delivering it up there, and they're putting the swing on it. So now if you're a pitcher like Finnegan is going right now, you gotta get with your catcher and you say, all right, well, we've got to be the ones to make the adjustment right here. The Cubs have made an adjustment to the way I'm pitching. I've got to be one step ahead of them. So he comes back now with back-to-back sliders to Addison Russell.
So here you have Bryant, who has 3 home runs, all of them against the Reds. Zobrist gets his first of the year, and the only home run hit this season was the devastating blow at Wrigley Field in the game Finnegan pitched last week by the man at the plate, Addison Russell. His only home run. You know, to finish that thought real quick about Harry Carey and talking about when the Cardinals were starting to catch up with the Cubs in that '69 season, after every game he would sing on the air, "The Cardinals are coming, tra-la-la-la." He would sing that every night they'd win. And those were the days when not a lot of games were on television. And so radio in that part of the country was how you followed baseball. There's a line drive by Russell for out number 1. They had a 9-game lead, if you can believe this. On August the 16th, they had a 9-game lead, the Cubs did, in '69. They wound up finishing in 3rd place 8 games out of 1st place, behind 2 teams. And it was the last day where they actually moved into a tie for that 2nd place. But boy, that's a year. You get around some of those guys, Ron Santo, God rest his soul, and Glenn Beckert, Billy Williams, and Ferguson Jenkins, and Ernie Banks. Well, what a team that was that never reached the postseason. That's 4 Hall of Famers. Ross pulls it foul. He was the guy that had the first hit that night off Brandon Finnegan.
Got off a little slider. He slipped it into shallow left center field.
Time for Suarez. He didn't need to probably barehand that ball with Ross running. Would have been close either way.
You talk to third basemen that make this play all the time, and they'll tell you, first of all, it's very difficult because that ball is bouncing. You're on the run. Your head's going up and down. The ball is going a different way. You got to look that ball right into your hand, and he nearly does that. And it's one of those do or die plays. But it is remarkable how some third basemen, and Todd Frazier got to the point after years of practice where it was nearly automatic for Frazier. And Suarez will get there too. That's a play that you don't really have to make very often when you're playing shortstop.
Broken bat flare by Arrieta. And that'll advance even Ross on to third. Third hit of the inning. An infield hit, a little broken bat floater. And now you roll back to Fowler at the top.
Arrieta had 2 runs batted in all of last season, and believe me, he had a lot of at bats last year. 79 ABs overall. He's already driven in 2 runs this year.
Well, the home run he hit in Arizona was the longest home run that's been hit in that ballpark so far this season. It was a blast. Over 400 feet. You know you're going pretty good as a pitcher, Chris, as Joel Luckup reminds me, when your batting average is better than the guys that are trying to hit against you.
Yes.
Opponents are hitting 195. He's hitting 250. Take a look at that. His last 15 regular season starts, he has hit 2 home runs. He has given up 3 home runs. I'm telling you, these numbers, we could just give them to you all night long. It's ridiculous how well he's pitching. All right, work to do for Finnegan. Runners on the corners with 1 out. Fowler doubled over the head of Schebler, leading off the game, and scored on the home run by Bryant. Good pitch there. Told you second to Daniel Murphy in batting average. These are National League ranks, first in on base percentage, top 10 in runs and walks. And a bouncer foul, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Fowler. And of course, his own teammates were stunned when he walked through the doors in spring training. He was a free agent. A number of reports had him signing a contract with the Baltimore Orioles, and at the last minute there was some discrepancy about the compensation pick and payment for that compensation pick and all kinds of issues. Next thing you know, it's not Baltimore. He's back on a deal with the Cubs. Suarez. They're not going to double up Fowler. And that makes it 4-0 on the fielder's choice. Chris, I turn and ask you, is that one of those plays, and you have to think about it beforehand, but knowing that David Ross is the runner at third and who the runner is at the plate in Fowler, is that one of those plays where you would even consider throwing the ball to the plate?
Absolutely, because you know who's running at first base, Fowler, and you're not going to get 2. So that's one of the things that you ask yourself when you're playing every position out there. If the ball is hit to me, what am I doing with it? If it's hit hard, what do I do with it? If it's hit to my left, what am I doing with it? So those are all the things. It's kind of a checklist that coaches are trying to get their players to do on every pitch. It's like a batter or a runner at second base constantly checking where the outfield alignment is, so he knows without the coach telling him whether he can get a better start and get to home on a base hit. And the other thing, is that Fowler doesn't hit into many ground ball double plays. A high hopper right there, you look at it, and your natural instinct for a third baseman is turn 2 right here. And for some people, you might get 2. But Fowler's already passed the bag. He's only grounded into 4 double plays in his last 100 opportunities. So there's a guy that is quick, and he's putting the ball in the air.
So 2 runs in the first, 2 more here in the second inning. And here's Hayward, who Finnegan struck out swinging in the first. On Jason Hayward. And now 3 balls and a strike.
It seems to me that Finnegan is falling into what most every young pitcher who's ever pitched does. When you fall a little bit of trouble, you try harder, and you're trying to throw a little bit harder. Sometimes taking a little bit off is the way to get it done, and it takes pitchers a long time before they sometimes figure that out.
Under the glove of Kozart. On to third goes Fowler. 4th hit in this inning, 6th hit for Chicago.
Fell behind 3-0, then came back with 3 consecutive fastballs, and on that one, Hayward found the hole on the left side. They were shifting him around to pull the ball a little bit, and he kind of went with it.
Well, here's Bryant, who hit one 420 feet in the upper deck his first time up in a high hopper to Kozar. He'll go the short way, and that's all for the Cubs. They get 2 more. And after an inning and a half, Chicago leads 4-0.
Today was shocked when they heard of the passing of music great Prince. I'm Jim Day, the guy stepping into the batter's box right now, Brendan Phillips. Also a very big fan. In fact, you might hear in the background he's changed his walk-up music tonight. Every at-bat will be a Prince song as he takes to the batter's box. He said once he learned of the death today, he was just playing Prince non-stop, and I'm sure there are many people around the world doing the same today. There are music legends, and then there are game changers, and Prince was one of those.
Yeah, Prince at 57 years young. His body was discovered at his Paisley Park compound in Minnesota early this morning. The body was found in an elevator. They performed CPR when unable to revive him and pronounced dead this morning Central Time in his hometown at 10:07 a.m. Central Time. One and one on Brandon. Reds down 4-0 to Arrieta and the Cubs, and there's a roller foul up the first base line. Brandon, a home run, 6 batted in, 3 doubles, a triple, and checks in with a batting average, a lofty .347. Sharply hit ball. Bryant plays it to the glove side, 1 out.
Bryant makes a nice play on this ball. Kind of a short hop, gets really low. As you see, a lot of infielders will tell you that's the best way to gauge the speed of a ground ball and where it's going to hop, is to get your eyes down as low as you can to almost the level of the baseball. For a guy who's over 6 feet 5 inches tall, that's a big question mark sometimes for Bryant, but he's turned himself into a pretty nice third baseman. In fact, not only that, Joe Madden, the manager, will use him all around in the outfield, even in center field in certain cases. Hasn't yet, but will do so because he's such a fine athlete.
1-1 to Jay Bruce. We're in the bottom of the second inning, and the Cubs with a 4-0 lead. A 2-run home run by Bryant in the first, home run by Zobrist in the second, and a ground out brought in a run off the bat of Fowler. Jay's 15 runs batted in, third most in the National League. 2 balls and a strike. 3-1. So far this year, Arrieta in 23 innings has walked just 2 batters, so this is rare even to get to a 3-ball count. Second one of the game. And he walks Bruce. How about that? Tonight's Quicken Loans Rocket Arms takes a look at the top 2 strikeout to walk ratio leaders in the National League. And well, look at these names. Is it any surprise? Arrieta coming into the game, 20 strikeouts, 2 walks. Kershaw, 30 strikeouts, 3 walks in 4 starts, which includes today. So while Arrieta walks his third, Bruce draws his second of the year. It's ball 1 on Devin Mesoraco. And now a quick visit to David Ross. You know, Chris, it always makes you ask the question when you see Arrieta. I mean, this guy was floundering around as a Baltimore Oriole. You know, he came up after a very short amount of time in the minor leagues. Went 6-6 in 18 starts, but an ERA of over 4.5. The next year he won 10 games, but he had an ERA of over 5. In 2012, he spent nearly a third of the year in AAA. And that's when the Cubs made the decision to try and bring him over after a very bad start for the Orioles. His earned run average was over 7. And now here he is, arguably the best right-handed pitcher as of today in Major League Baseball.
And in those tough years that he had between bouncing back from Baltimore and their AAA franchise Norfolk, he was considering quitting baseball. He was having conversations with his wife about, well, what kind of business should we start when this is all over? What are we going to do for our family? And of course, they may still be having those conversations, but they take a little different approach to it now.
Sure.
You know, and that question's been asked over and over again. You know, in Baltimore, it was said that all the minor leaguers in the system were not allowed to throw a cut fastball for fear of hurting their arm. Well, that's one of the pitches that has really made Arrieta an excellent pitcher with the Cubs. But is it only that? I don't think so. I think it was a complete rededication to his craft. He decided to be, if he went into the weight room and it took normal guy that called for, say, 6 reps on a certain exercise, he would do 12. I mean, he has just completely rededicated himself. His conditioning program is legendary. In the wintertime, he takes care of himself to the point where he stretches 2 hours a day. He has taken on doing a lot of yoga, Pilates, and not just once a week, but I mean every day, to dedicate in the wintertime to what he's doing and to get reaps of it, to reap it in the summertime. I mean, he's gifted with a terrific arm, but there are a lot of guys that throw 95 miles an hour. It's those guys that can slow the game down and repeat it. And when he has a bad night, he gives up only 2 or 3 runs instead of 9 runs. And that's what the top of the list is all about. And this may be one of those nights where he's not quite on. I mean, he's just not dominant the way he has been in even a couple of starts he's had so far this year. So this could be a night that the Reds, you pick your spot, you make them work a little bit.
Yeah, you got to run into one with a couple of guys on, and you know, the next thing you know, maybe you have a shot. 2 balls and a strike on Adam Duvall. Well, he had a pitch to hit right there. That one hung up there a little bit on him. Adam has 1 home run. He does have 6 doubles, a team high.
Arrieta's a pitcher that really pitches entirely without a changeup. He throws two different types of fastballs, a four-seamer, which kind of rises, it goes straights and rises, and then a two-seamer. There's more of those that get the ground ball. He lives and dies with that slider and complements it with a little curveball. That's the curve, the slow one. And then, like I said, this is a night where he doesn't really look like he's got a good feel of that pitch. He's thrown some good sliders, but this is one of those nights where he's going to have to bear down a little bit.
Three and two on Duvall. The runner at first, Jay Bruce. Swing and a miss, and that will retire the side. A walk, a couple of strikeouts. We've played two at Great American Ballpark, and the Cubs lead 4-0. Park, thanks to John Morrell, the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Vado-Matic Super bobblehead. That's his Saturday, and you can see the Redlegs and the Cubbies for as low as $12. Call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com tonight. 39 pitches in the first 2 innings for Brandon Finnegan. He only needed 18 pitches to get through the front 2 when he pitched into the 7th with a no-hitter at Wrigley Field a little more than a week ago. He could use a quick and easy inning here, trailing 4-0. Rizzo a soft liner to Cozart, his first time up. Soler on deck, and then Ben Zobrist. To the bag, Finnegan in time. 1 out.
It's a good play by Joey Votto, who fielded that ball, wanted to make sure Finnegan got there. Now, Votto's going to get up now. He's going to run the ball, and he's going to show Finnegan the ball to make sure that he sees it. He's not trying to hide it from him. Says, here it is right here. You catch the ball, don't forget to tag the bag. And you get it to him before he gets to the bag. That way a pitcher can look down and watch his footwork.
Soler flied out to Schebler in center field, his only time up tonight. Number of games earlier today in Major League Baseball, but certainly the big story earlier today, the San Francisco Giants, who looked so good the first week, all of a sudden have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who looked awful the first week. The Diamondbacks came in there and swept the Giants in a 4-game series, beating Johnny Cueto in the series finale today. Cueto went 7 innings, allowed only 3 runs, but that wasn't good enough today. Two. Straightaway center again. Second time. Schebler has hauled in the fly ball off the bat of Soler. Coming up later, as always, we'll have our Miller Time moment, and that's brought to you by Miller Lite. Zobrist homer to the first row in right center field, leading off the second inning. His first home run this year.
He's got some power, although when you line up the number of power hitters the Cubs have, he's not the one that first comes to mind.
Nice play by Suarez on the line drive to his left. And it's a 1-2-3 third thanks to this from Eugenio. Come on out and join our buddy Mo Egger for 700 WLW for the Reds Fan Cam tomorrow night over at the Holy Grail. Your chance to answer Reds trivia. You win great prizes. You could be a part of Reds Live. Who knows? The party begins at 6 p.m. mañana across Shonuxall Way at the Holy Grail on the Banks. And that would be just to your south as you're looking at that picture right now, upriver. We begin the bottom of the third, 8-9-1. There you get a look into the rolling hills of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Schebler went around, 1 ball and 1 strike. Won't be long now. We'll see some of the folks out there like you, Chris Welsh, throwing a line or 2 out there in the water.
I've never fished that particular spot, but we're keeping an eye on them, because if they begin to bring them in,
and they do, we've got an eye on them.
I might be moving in there tomorrow.
I hear you. Two and 1 to Schebler. And that breaking ball Stays up and away. 3 balls and a strike. And to give you an idea, you know, Chris brought up earlier that maybe, and look, the guy still hadn't given up a hit. But that's not always the entire story. There's a strike. All season long, Arrieta in his 3 starts had only gone to a 3-ball count 7 times. He's gone to a 3-ball count 4 times already tonight. It remains 3-2 on Scott. Now, Jim Day, I know you're going to be keeping an eye tonight on the big story in Louisville is the return of Homer Bailey out on a rehab start tonight. And you'll be following that regularly and keeping us up to date on what's going on. Schebler lifts one into right. 1 out. They talk about a pitcher that can hit. This is our IGS bringing the energy. That's Brandon Finnegan. 4 of 7, Chris. 4 hits, tied for the most by any pitcher with Francisco Liriano. In fact, he's the only Reds pitcher with a hit.
That's a cut.
It is.
He's a good athlete.
It was about this time a year ago. There were a lot of people that were really upset with Jake Arrieta, and of course that was long before he goes on to have this incredible year. He had a good year the year before, but I mean, he was on nobody's radar to win the Cy Young Award. But you know, apparently in some Chicago publication or whatever, he was asked about, you know, favorite city, favorite movie, so on and so forth, and did not have a lot of nice things to say about Cincinnati. And he heard it from some of the crowd the first time they came in here last year. Swinging a foul ball out of play. Well, we'd like to think that maybe if he's had a chance to get in and around our fabulous city, that maybe he has changed his mind. Finnegan did not like the call.
He thought that pitch may have been upstairs and out of the strike zone, and probably leaned back to home plate umpire Dana DeMuth and said, you know, I'd like to have that pitch up there around the letters. Of course, you got to say it with a smile on your face.
There you get a look right behind home plate. Those are great seats. In the upper deck, right behind the plate, or just to the third base side in this case. 2-0 on Zach Kozai. Bryant, a long throw, 1 hopper, 2 hopper, and a good pick over there by Rizzo. That's very nicely done on both ends.
Looks down the right and left field lines. For the first time ever, females are serving as Reds in-game and on-field ball girls tonight. Emily Lafferty and Miranda Ladani are both with the Cincinnati Reds RBI softball program, part of the Reds Community Fund. We've told you how they've used some young men from the RBI program. Tonight is the first time that we have some females down the line. Lafferty is an instructor at the Reds Urban Youth Academy. She attended Lakota East High School. And Ladani is an RBI scholarship winner from Ludlow, Kentucky. So we welcome them with open arms. It's great to see.
Sure is, and I promise you they'll make some plays tonight. I mean, they look like players, don't they?
Well, they've got a fine place to learn over there at the Reds Urban Academy. That is a Taj Mahal for youth baseball.
And softball. Out there playing catch with Jay Bruce. I mean, I tell you, if you go watch really good girls high school softball, those young ladies can play now. And there's a nice play out there and a sinking liner off the bat of Russell, caught by Adam Duvall.
That ball was sinking and sliding away from Duvall. Off the bat of the right-hander. Russell likes that ball down. I mean, he went right down there to get it.
That was a terrific tech talk with Adam Duvall that you had during Reds Live tonight. Very interesting.
He's very well spoken.
Yes, he is.
He understands, and he understands the communication of it. I always think that, and it was really about what his pregame routine was, using a batting tee to get ready for the game. Where he would move the tee around, how high we would put it. He'd swing with one hand. Once it would be his left hand, the other time it would be his right hand, and so on, what he's trying to do. But I really believe that you learn more about it when you try to teach it to somebody else. And I would always try to get minor league players to get involved in helping youth baseball. Because that's when they really begin to learn, is when they're trying to teach a kid how to pitch or how to hit or how to run the bases. But he came across, did a great job on it.
Sure did. I mean, that's something you could, you know, show your kids at any level about how to be a better hitter and drills you can do.
Trying to get that on the website.
It's a great idea. Working on that.
That'd be the Fox Sports Ohio website.
Yeah.
There's usually a collection of those up there. I'm not sure if they have them up there right now, but we'll take a look and try to see if we can make the right call to get them up there.
There's ball 4 to David Ross. We're going to have those up right around the same time that Johnny Cueto video comes out. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and so much more. Visit MLB.TV for details. We'll see the Giants, and not by the grace of God, but by an act of God. We'll have it on there maybe by then. Or did you just send that to the Giants?
Yeah, it's in their hands now.
It's on their website. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we don't mean to exclude you. Chris had gone down to the Dominican Republic and spent, what, how many days? 2-3 days with Johnny Cueto?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was his mother's birthday while you were there, and you were part of that whole birthday party and the celebration. And
Mother had us over for lunch one day, made a wonderful dish of sancocho, which was Johnny's favorite dish. And we never really were able to get that thing cut up properly and presentable for the air. But we're still working on it. Kind of.
broken bat again by Arrieta. That's exactly what happened the last time. And in the throw, Airmails, now they have Arrieta caught. And a throw to first, and waited just a little too long, and the runner's going to score from third base on a broken bat single to center field. Well, the first mistake was a throw by Schebler. He had no chance to get Ross.
Really, rule number one for outfielders is to just throw the ball and throw it low. And I know that there are times when you're going to get a guy, you think you've got a chance for a guy, but that ball was airmailed right over the top of Suarez. Fortunately, Finnegan was there. Now we saw Arrieta halfway between second and first.
Well, they get one, and safe again at first is Fowler. So it'll be ruled a single by Arrieta. Second time he's broken a bat, but collected a hit. And then the runner scores on a throwing error by Brandon Finnegan.
Here's a good angle because you see how far Arrieta was off the bag. Now Finnegan was going to run at him, but unfortunately you're in foul territory, so you're so far away that you really can't run the runner back, not like you would if you were standing on the pitcher's mound. So at that time he should just kind of fire it on over to first base immediately rather than running him back. You want to look at the first mistake? Walking the upper 8 hitter, shredding the pitcher would be the first thing.
Five runs, 7 hits for Chicago. No runs and no hits for the Reds. We are in the top of the 4th inning in the first of 4 games here at Great American Ballpark between these two teams. John Moscott, a right-hander, his second start of the year against lefty John Lester tomorrow night. Dan Straley threw the ball very well his first start of the year. He'll pitch Saturday against John Lackey. And then Jason Hamill v. Alfredo Simon on Sunday before the Reds hit the road to face the New York Mets, followed by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hayward does not look too comfortable up there against the left-hander. He did have a base hit his last time up, just scooted under the glove of Kozak.
Well, what Brandon Finnegan has not been able to do to Hayward yet is throw him a really good slider, meaning good spin, good speed, good location. He's trying to keep him tight with the fastball, which is a good thing to do, but you can go down and away and get him to swing over the top of it. That was a good one, and he just held back. We talked about it when the Reds were at Wrigley Field, Tom, about how much more balanced this Cubs lineup is this year. With some switch hitters at the top, you've got left-hander in Hayward, you got a right-hander, you know, in Bryant, left-hander in Rizzo. You compare that to some other teams that are, predicted to be among the contenders this year because they were last year, but they seem to be awfully right-handed. I mean, they just have enforcers, right-handed enforcers, left-handed enforcers, that makes it tough on a left-handed starter or a right-handed starter. It's really a good blend.
The 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up, and it's a 3-2 pitch, and he walked it. That is the second walk of the inning, second walk of the night for Brandon Finnegan, and now he'll face Bryant, who hit a long 2-run home run into the upper deck his first time up, bounced into a fielder's choice to end the second. Saw Mark Riggins, the Reds pitching coach, on the horn. And Tim Melville, the right-hander, on the other end of the line, will start to get up and throw in the Reds bullpen.
Now, this is the kind of game as a pitcher that can really wear you down. I mean, you're facing a team for the second time in a short period of time, like he pitched against the Cubs last week. You know how good they are. They're on a roll. They're very patient at the plate, but yet they're very powerful. They hit a lot of home runs. So you're already on edge all day long when you get the ball to start the game. And now things begin to go wrong. You run your pitch count up. This could be a sapping, energy sapping type of a ball game. I'd be surprised if he goes much longer, even if he's able to get out of this inning. Might be good to give him some rest, let him really get rejuvenated before his next start.
And those are part of the growing pains that we knew the Reds were going to go through this year with such a young pitching staff. So you have this kind of game and try and learn from it.
I mean, look at it this way. He just turned 23 years old last week, a week from today. There are not all that many 23-year-olds pitching in AAA. Most 23-year-olds are pitching in A-ball somewhere. Some are in rookie ball still. If you're moving up the ladder quickly, you might be in AA. So it's a rare guy that can get to the major leagues as young as did Brandon Finnegan.
On the appeal, they said Bryant went around. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 on, 2 out. And strike 3 will retire the side. Second strikeout for Finnegan. After 3.5, Chicago leads 5-0.
Hits the Toyota sign during tonight's game. Fred Zankert from Oakland, Ohio will win this beautiful new Tundra on display at GABP. Register for your chance to win in an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Let's give you that Homer Bailey update, making his first rehab start tonight for the Louisville Bats. Was brilliant through 3, hitless through 3 innings. In the 4th inning, ran into trouble, gave up a leadoff solo home run, walked a batter, then they took him out after 2 outs. So 3 2/3 innings, 3 hits, a couple of runs, and good on the strikeouts, but as Brian Price said before the game, he could care less about the numbers that he posted tonight. He just wants him to come through healthy. They were hoping to get 4 innings out of him tonight, but he goes 3 2/3, which the first of what they hope will be 3 minor league rehab starts.
All right, Jim Doyle, thank you very much for that update.
Kind of interesting, really, that Jake Arrieta would be pitching against the Reds tonight on the same night that Homer would be down doing a rehab start for the Louisville Bats. They live about an hour away from each other. Arrieta and Homer Bailey, they have spent many of the last few winters working out together. They're not neither of them too far from Austin, Texas. And Homer's the kind of guy that, like Arrieta, they're probably pushing each other to extremes.
Sure.
You get a workout partner like that, and you're going to really get something done.
It would be great to get Homer Bailey back here. Get Anthony DeSclafani back in this rotation, and certainly, you know, add a sense of calm, if you will, in this Reds rotation. There's been so much uncertainty with guys that were hurt in spring training and guys you were counting on being in the starting rotation that weren't, that aren't. Season starts and you're moving guys from the bullpen into the rotation. John Moscott just came back. Made his first start of the year over the weekend in St. Louis. And there's ball 4 on Suarez, so he draws a walk to open up the Reds' 4th inning. Two walks in his first 3 starts combined for Arrieta. That's his 2nd walk tonight. Facing Cy Young Award winners is A-OK by Joey Votto. In his career against guys that have won a Cy Young Award, he is a .350 batter with a .440 on-base percentage. And the OPS, only Ted Williams has a higher OPS, on-base plus slugging percentage, against Cy Young Award winners than Joey Votto.
He makes him go from Cy Young to sayonara. Well, you know a good line when you steal one many years ago.
Good. Very good.
That is impressive, though, when you start thinking about it. Because most hitters, they pad their stats against the middle relievers who are here one year and gone the next. Votto's the kind of hitter, though, if you know, we've watched him for so long, he seems to ratchet up his game a little bit when he's facing the best.
Votto bounced out to the shortstop, a short hop liner at Addison Russell, his first time up. Oh boy. You're down 5-0. That simply cannot happen.
Well, Arrieta threw over the pitch before because maybe they thought the Suarez were just getting too big of a lead. And that secondary lead jumping over there towards second base. Yep, he's out.
It's not the first time that's happened to Suarez this season. Nice play by Rizzo to take away a hit. 2 away in the inning.
With a man on first base, that is a base hit. Nice play by Rizzo. But he only moves back there because there's no longer a runner at first base that he has to hold on. Well, those little things in baseball I mean, you're looking at 2 on and nobody out instead of the exact opposite. Nobody on and 2 out.
Brandon bounced out to Bryant his first time up. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. It's been all Cubs from the get-go. They lead 5-0. Bryant will throw out Phillips, and that will retire the side. It started on a promising note. We move to the 5th. Cubs in front, 5-0.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Coming up this Saturday, David Ortiz looks to continue a blistering start in his final year as the Boston Red Sox take on the Houston Astros, 3:30 Eastern on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Well, Chris, you hit the nail right on the head about Brandon Finnegan, and maybe the kind of game to go ahead and just get him out of there. Things have not gone his way tonight. A lot of pitches in 4 innings, and his night is indeed over. 5 runs, 4 earned.
Now, if this was, late August and you're in the pennant hunt and you're down the stretch, you may not want to go to your bullpen this early if he can give you another inning or 2. But at this point in the season, why not? Tim Melville, want to get him back up there.
And it's the first time this year a Red starter has not gone, or it's the first start, I'm sorry, by Finnegan that he has not gone 5 innings in just 8 major league starts last year and now this year. So Melville to face Rizzo, Soler, and Zobrist. Good pitch there. Got Rizzo to chase it. Boy, Rizzo busting it up the line, man. 5-0 lead in the 5th. It's the first time we've seen Melville pitch out of the Reds bullpen. He was just moved there on Sunday, a non-roster invitee to the Reds spring training camp, the major league camp. It was one of the club's final roster cuts the day before opening day. And really, he wasn't down there very long. In fact, he didn't throw a pitch for Louisville before he was brought up to fill that spot for the injured Anthony DeSclafani. 1-1 on Soler. Nice round of applause. A fan trying to give it up, protecting those around him on that rocket into the stands. That guy right there, I mean, protecting everybody, was able to knock it down. That had to hurt a little bit.
He's not showing it.
No, he's not. That's the third straight time Soler has lifted a fly ball to Schebler in center field. 2 out for Melville. Well, you know, a guy like Melville, you never know. Maybe you find your niche here in this role in the big leagues. He made his major league debut this year with the Reds. Got a couple of starts. Most recently over the weekend in the area where he grew up in Missouri. And so now pitching out of the bullpen, he has successfully retired the first 2 batters of the inning.
I think he's very grateful for an opportunity to get out there again, Tom. I believe he hasn't shown anybody what he can do based on what his first 2 starts were. Makes his major league debut, you're nervous enough, then you make your next start against your old hometown team in front of a packed house. And all of your friends and family grew up rooting for the St. Louis Cardinals, the team that you're pitching against. And he was clearly a little bit nervous that day. Didn't make a lot of good pitches, but you get a little bit better idea of what he can do by, you know, changing speeds, working the ball around the zone a little bit.
Zobrist collects his second hit of the night. And now Russell, who has hit a pair of line drives, Adam balls. One to the shortstop, the other on a nice sliding catch made by Adam Duvall.
I think that's a good spot to pitch in. You just look at him the way he sets up. He's holding that bat kind of straight up and down right there. You know, he's just waiting to drop that bat head down on something low. And a sneaky fastball gets it right by him for an 0-2 count.
Zobrist 1 stolen base attempt so far this year. It was a successful attempt. Cubs leading 5-0. We're in the 5th. Try the breaking ball. It stays up. 2-2 on Addison Russell. Came over in a deal, of course, for Jeff Samardzija from the Oakland Athletics. Came there every day, regular shortstop last August, and hits another line drive and another one caught. Nice inning by Melville. Reds down 5-0. Family Day destination this Sunday, every Sunday. Take advantage and save with a Family Sunday ticket offer. It's a great one. I mean, we got live mascot races, games, face painters, a lot going on. And thanks to College Advantage, all kids 14 and younger this Sunday receive a Reds super themed Fathead. So come on down to the ballpark Sunday. Weather is supposed to be just beautiful Saturday and Sunday. Bright sunshine, temperatures in the mid-70s, low 80s on Sunday. So we'll look forward to seeing you starting tomorrow night. Reds in search of their first hit. Arrieta's walk 2, he's fan 3. Our steel power tool performer. Jay Bruce leads all major leaguers in runs batted in at home, and Suarez is 3rd. 12 of the 15 for Jay Bruce right here at GABP. For Suarez, that's 9 out of 10.
You know, Jake Arrieta in his delivery shows you that not every pitcher pitches the same. What pitching coaches preach to young pitchers is you ought to have a straight line direction to where you're throwing. But Arrieta throws across his body rather significantly. Maybe not as much as he used to, but he's still across his body a little bit. And it helps his breaking ball by doing that, because you close off and you have a stiff front side. We'll take another look. And just by being over on this side a little bit rather than straight on, which would be here, is, you know, the difference between being slightly across your body within the range of being okay and, you know, straight down the line. It's kind of interesting how just, you know, different pitchers just do it different ways.
Bruce gone on strikes. That's number 4 for Arrieta. Only one ball has left a red bat that reached the outfield in the game tonight.
Now that's a rare changeup that he's thrown. I mean, he really reserves that pitch only for left-handers. Only the 2 different marks. So this one is the one that belongs to Arrieta. The other was Brandon Finnegan. Of course, Arrieta is about 6 feet 4 inches tall, and Finnegan is much shorter than that. So you figure the stride would be longer for the taller pitcher. Drafted by the Orioles 2005 in the 5th round out of TCU. In fact, Jake Arrieta almost became a Cincinnati Red. He was drafted out of high school by the Reds in 2004 when he came out of Plano High School. And the Reds chose him in the 31st round. But instead he decided to go and attend Weatherford Junior College. From there he transferred to TCU.
Broken bat, short left field. Soler will get there, and Mesoraco retired for the 2nd out here in the 5th inning.
I guess at that time you don't think, well, 31st round pick, let's pay him like 1st round pick money, because he's going to win the Cy Young Award in 2015. If only you could have that crystal ball.
Indeed. There are a lot of people that walk around, though, that think they have it.
It's tough. It's tough to be right on players all the time.
It sure is.
I mean, it really is.
I mean, we were talking about Mike Piazza the other day, and that's back when the Major League Draft used to have rounds into the 60s, which is where he was selected. The 60s.
Yeah.
He's going to the Hall of Fame this summer. This is 5 no-hit shutout innings for Jake Arrieta. Cubs lead 5-0.
Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals. I'm Jim Day. Speaking of Cincinnati Children's Hospital, on Tuesday, the Reds paid a visit. Tim Melville in there, Caleb Cotham, J.J. Hoover, John Moscott, Ross Ollendorf, and Ivan DeJesus Jr. This visit was organized by the Reds. There are many Reds players that make their way over on their own, unscheduled or unannounced. J.J. Hoover being one, and he's a guy that always rounds up the troops and makes sure there's a group going over there. And you better believe it puts the smile on the faces of families that are going through a tough time right now. And we send out our best to them.
Indeed, we do each and every night right here on Reds Baseball. And Jim, you're exactly right about J.J. Hoover. I mean, that young man does so much behind the scenes and off the field for this Reds organization, especially at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. "5-0 Cubs as they bat here in the 6th inning, the 2nd inning of work out of the bullpen, and the first time ever in his major league career that Tim Melville has pitched out of the bullpen. He allowed a 2-out single, but no damage done in the 5th. Boss, Arrieta, and Fowler due up here in the Chicago 6th. Ball hit a long way into right center field, and that is out of here. 3rd home run tonight by Chicago, and a big night and a rare start for David Ross.
David Ross usually catches John Lester, the scheduled starter, tomorrow night, so I would imagine Ross will be back in the lineup on back-to-back days. We've seen Ross hit some home runs, especially when wearing a red uniform right here in Great American Ballpark. And he's always had a lot of power. Most of those home runs, though, as I remember, went to left field. This time he goes a little hoppage.
So Zobrist gets his first home run of the year. Ross gets his first home run of the year. And Chris Bryant, who hit one in the 1st inning, all 3 of his home runs this season have come against the Reds. This Cub team, picked by many before the year ever began to be favorites to win the National League pennant, and so far they are playing like it this season. The Washington Nationals, going into play today, had the best record in the National League, but they lost. So the Cubs have a chance to have the best record in the National League if they can make this 6-0 lead in the 6th inning stand. In fact, that would be the best record in all of Major League Baseball. Well, some other news and notes around baseball. 8 consecutive games with a run batted in for the reigning National League most valuable player, Bryce Harper. 8 home runs. He struck out 7 times all year. Jordan Zimmerman, the former National, off to a great start with Detroit. And Manny Machado, the only player in baseball with a hit in each of his team's games so far this season. The best record in the American League belongs to the Chicago White Sox. Gone swinging Arrieta, 1 out. And apparently now that his body is feeling better, his arm is better, his knee is better. What a start it has been for the former Red standout, Matt Latos, 3-0 with the Chicago White Sox.
I think they're surprising a lot of people, that White Sox ball club. people pretty much handed it to the Kansas City Royals in that division. The White Sox, Chris Sale having an outstanding outing again last night. Todd Frazier hit his 4th home run of the year today. It's an interesting ball club.
You know, the other team in the mix, obviously, there in that American League Central, Detroit. I mean, they're there every year. In fact, they're playing Kansas City tonight.
Well, at this point, nobody's out of it.
That's right.
And the only team that is not anywhere close to 500 in that division is the Minnesota Twins.
Detroit beat Kansas City. Zimmerman winning last night, beating your guy, Ian Kennedy. 3-2 pitch, and it's ball 4 to Fowler. First walk given up by Melville. Well, you made the comment in spring training you thought Kennedy might be in line for a big year with Kansas City.
I know he's in for a big payday year. I think that was the comment.
I thought you said big year as well, and he's off to a great start. But he lost that game to Zimmerman last night 3-2. Hayward, a fly ball to Shoveler for out number 2, and Chris Bryant coming up. Naturally, a lot of Cub fans in the ballpark tonight. Had a chance to run into a group of them before the game today, and you know, very pleasant, saying hello and asking them where they were in from, and actually made the drive down from Chicago. And they're going to be here for the first 2 games. Got to get back, going to drive back very late, they said, after the game tomorrow night. But they said, you know, even adding the hotel room along with what they're spending in gas money, as Bryant drops one into left field, a base hit. They said, you know, you start, they ran all the numbers, and they said it is a far less expensive trip to come watch the Cubs here, even spending money for one night in a hotel tonight and the gas money to drive back and forth, than it's going to cost to go to a game at Wrigley Field. Well, with the parking and the ticket prices and all that kind of thing, and trying to go to the game, I was stunned.
Wow. Not
surprised, stunned.
So we'll see more Chicago people.
I don't know if we will or not. I mean, you see them wherever you go, all over the country, because, you know, for many years they had that super station they were on, WGN. I mean, for a lot of the younger folks in the audience, I mean, it's, you know, they just can't comprehend what it was really not all that long ago, where you had 3 teams that were the only teams you would watch regularly or have a chance to watch regularly that weren't in your home market. The Cubs were on WGN, a super station. The Mets were on WOR out of New York. And then you have the Atlanta Braves on Turner. You can watch them every night, no matter where you live. Two and oh the count on Rizzo.
Never really got to the the fence along the sideline, thinking that he could just kind of reach up, and he did run into some fan, I can't say interference, but maybe distraction right there. That's one of those plays that you don't really make all that often as a shortstop. You make it way more often as a third baseman. So, you know, he's still converting himself in a lot of different ways to play in that corner infield position.
That'll make it 9-0 Chicago after the play that wasn't made. And really, you're looking at Rizzo's season in a nutshell here tonight. That's his first hit. Only his 11th hit of the year.
Or he just, I mean, from a viewpoint of where that pitch is, I don't think our box tracks really showed it as hittable as it was. It showed it at the very bottom of the strike zone, and it really was about thigh high on the outer third.
And now this one up against the base of the wall by Soler. You know, you look at Rizzo, and we brought up earlier coming into the game. This guy's hitting, you know, $170. But his on-base percentage was 110 points better than that. He now has 5 home runs and 16 runs batted in on just 11 hits. His on-base percentage, I beg your pardon, almost 200 points better. They got robbed of a home run yesterday in St. Louis. That was the only game the Cubs lost in that 3-game series. Randall Pritchett going up and over the wall. Nice play. But he said take that a little bit later on. You know, it's interesting. You got a shot of Jake Arrieta down there a moment ago. A lot of times you'll see starting pitchers, especially starting pitchers who haven't allowed a hit, and they'd be sitting by themselves, and now Arrieta's going to go have a seat. But he was standing there a moment ago, not only greeting Rizzo after the home run, but standing there, Sean, with some of the other guys that are just sitting on the bench. So he's not falling for any of that superstitious nonsense about, you know, you can't talk when you're pitching the game, and everybody's different, and can't talk to anybody when you're pitching a no-hitter.
Well, if he was unable to talk to anybody while he's pitching a no-hitter, there'd be a lot of nights where he didn't talk to anybody.
You're right about that.
I mean, at least until the 5th or 6th inning. I mean, this guy takes no-hit stuff to the mound just about every other time he goes out there. He's taken a no-hitter into the 6th inning. Arrieta has 5 times into the 6th since the start of 2014. And 2 of those were against the Reds. And every time he has taken it into the 6th inning, he's finished the 6th inning with a no-hitter. Well, what started out as a nice little outing for Tim Melville has now melted.
We talked about the patience of this Chicago Cubs team. This is the 13th game they have played. And remember now, it's the 16th overall. So in all but 3 of their games they've played so far this year, they've drawn 4 walks or more. No other team in Major League Baseball has more than 10 of those games. So this is an unbelievably patient play. And Russell's got to wonder, where's Mock? He has hit 4 missiles tonight, all 4 caught. Every game, everything you need to know. Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Picoro, Jim Day, Chris Welsh, Kent Dreamweaver, Roddy Millinor, and a cast of hundreds. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow night again at 6:30. We'll get it all started. Our game coverage begins at 7 with our producer Josh Hall and our director Brian Hunterman. Well, that's a handful right there now. Talking about the little girl. Well, she's bouncing all over the place. Breaking ball in 3-1. Our associate producers tonight, Matt Sigafus and Jim Muller. And Reds Live, produced by Kent Dreamweaver. Our coordinating producer is Bob Pennell. The executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio, Tom Farmer. And Bruce has drawn a walk. Or Schebler, I beg your pardon. That is the 3rd walk of the game. That is 1 more walk than Arrieta. Here he's pitching a no-hitter. Yet he has walked more batters in the game tonight than he has in his prior 3 starts combined. And which is really why Christian pointed out early on, you know, maybe he's not as sharp as normal, but obviously they're just not hitting him.
Well, they're not hitting him, obviously, but he had a couple of other counts where he ran the count to 3 balls, and Reds hitters chased ball 4 out of the zone for strike 3. I mean, bad games for a pitcher the caliber of Jake Arrieta. You know, maybe you have to look hard to see him. Helps when you have a 9-run lead, though.
Jordan Pacheco to bat for Melville, who goes 2 innings, allows 5 hits and 4 runs. He deserved better than that. If Suarez is able to make that play at third base, the Rizzo home run never happens, and would have been the 3rd out of the inning.
Jordan Pacheco just asked Dana DeMuth, is that a 9-0 strike zone right there? And the answer is yes.
Rizzo will go to second and get the out there. One away in the inning.
You know, we were talking about Arrieta and the number of times he's taken a no-hitter into a ball game. And probably, I think it's worth repeating because it is so unusual for this to happen. Since the start of 2014, 5 times he's taken a no-no into the 6th inning. And each and every one of those times, he finished the 6th with a no-hitter. Of course, last year, August the 30th, he finished the game with a no-hitter as he blanked the Dodgers.
Nearly no-hit the Reds on September the 16th, final couple of weeks of that 14 season. Brandon Phillips able to break that one up. He will indeed again get through 6 innings without allowing a base hit. Automatic super bobblehead. Well, thanks to John Morrell, if you're one of the first 25,000 fans through the gates day after tomorrow, this Saturday, and you can get a ticket for as low as $12 to the game. Saturday night will be your night. 513-381-REDS or log on to reds.com today. I know you said it, Chris, over the weekend. But we certainly would like to once again echo our sincere thoughts and prayers to Karen Forgas, Senior Vice President of Business Operations for the Reds. Lost her father over the weekend. And now having to, of course, go through what we've all sadly had to go through at one time or another. If you haven't, then you're mighty fortunate. And certainly our very best to all. Reds are making a change on the mound.
Now they made the change on the roster today to get this young man onto the major league roster. Here he was in Louisville, Drew Hayes, making his major league debut. Came up through the Reds organization. He was drafted by the Reds in 2010 out of Vanderbilt, 11th round. Pitched last year a little bit in Louisville, a little bit in Pensacola. Actually a lot in Louisville, and has been pretty much a reliever right from the very get-go.
And he was a teammate with both Caleb Cotham and Nick Christiani, who he saw pitch for the Reds while at Vanderbilt in 2008 and 2009. He grew up around that area.
He was a heck of a football player.
Yeah, three-time All-State football player. In fact, he won the Mr. Football of Tennessee in 2005. When he left high school, he had thrown for the second most passing yards in Tennessee high school football lore. So that's getting it done.
And he's retired his first major league batter.
Yes, he has. Good for him. I know he has a lot of friends and family watching right now, because our telecasts are shown every night down in McKenzie, Tennessee. It's where he graduated from and still makes his home. I'll tell you another guy down there watching all the time. We talk about him frequently. He's a native Buckeye, but makes his home down that way. Our old pal Kirk Herbstreit. He's always watching Reds baseball. His wife and a house full of boys. They're always dialed in. 0-2 on Arrieta. If you're just tuning in, Arrieta's not allowed a base hit tonight. And we are in the top of the 7th inning.
That number 9 spot's been a tough out all night long.
Well, if you can't watch the games on TV, as we were just talking about a moment ago, well, now you can stream Reds games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store, download the free Fox Sports Go app, you log in, and then stream the Reds wherever it is you go. That was not caught out in right field by Bruce, so that'll be a base hit. Arrieta advances on to second base.
But Fowler has hit the ball hard. And on base 3 times, including the double to start the game off.
And we mentioned he'd already been on base so far this season, more than any player in the major leagues. 34 coming into the game. So now 37. Joe Mauer was second closest of the Minnesota Twins with 31. 3-1 on Hayward.
Hayes has got the kind of compact motion that you can tell he's been a reliever for a long time and very comfortable pitching out of the stretch. Not a lot of wasted effort. Kind of picks up his leg and goes.
So the base is loaded after the second walk of the inning by Hayes, and it's Bryant. Two balls and a strike. Straightaway center field. Schebler at the wall. Grand slam. That makes it a 13-0 game. Bryant has hit 4 home runs this year. All 4 of them have come against the Reds. He had home runs in back-to-back games last week in Chicago, and he's clubbed a 3-run homer and a grand salami here tonight. It's a pretty good game. Hayes, in this his major league debut, is still in search of 2 more outs. He walked the pitcher.
Yeah, you know, when he came into the ball game, he had to figure this kind of sets up pretty good. At least I'm sure that Brian Price and Mark Riggins were thinking that. You're giving him 8, 9, and 1 in the order. You get the number 8 guy out, and you're thinking, all right. A couple of walks, a hit, and a bomb.
Right into the shift. That is Suarez throwing out Rizzo. Has scored the third baseman, Tovado, for the putout. 2 away, and the inning enters Soler. Pull the string on him there with a good changeup. Cubs have blasted 5 home runs of their 14 hits in the game tonight. 2-run shot by Bryant in the first, solo home run by Zobrist in the second. I had said a 3-run home run earlier. I beg your pardon. A 2-run shot by Bryant. Ross a solo home run. Rizzo a 3-run home run. And a grand slam. So the Cubs have hit for the cycle on their home runs tonight. Solo blast, 2-run homer, 3-run homer, and now they touch them all with 3 men aboard.
I've never heard that before. You're on it.
There's no doubt. Cubs must have heard you say that. They were down there laughing right after that rolled out of your lips.
They have been doing a lot of laughing.
Yes, they have. Mercifully, this inning is over. Well, the story now is Arrieta. He's working on a no-hitter. The OHIO continues tomorrow. Game 2 of the 4-game series, Reds and Cubs. Reds Live kicks it all off. 6:30. April in the OHIO, presented by Meyer. Speaking of the OHIO, LeBron James and the Cavaliers getting a big win last night. They're up 2-0 in their series. They'll play again tomorrow night, as that series shifts to Detroit. All right, here's Arrieta. This should be the first out of the inning. It is. So the man that started the game opposing Arrieta went 6 2/3 innings against this Cub team without allowing a hit. That was Brandon Finnegan. And here is Arrieta. 1 out into the 7th inning. He's walked 3 and fanned 4. So now you have Fado. You know, if you get through Votto without allowing a hit, who clearly is the best Reds hitter, he's not been so far this year, but he's their best hitter. You might not have to face him again tonight. And he gets ahead 0-2. Votto, a ground ball, one hopper to the shortstop, a soft liner, his first time up, and then had a hit taken away on a diving stab made by Rizzo in the 4th inning. A long look in by Arrieta, now goes into the windup. 0-2 pitch. Broken bat roller. Second out in the 7th. .2014, the only hit against Arrieta that night was off the bat of Brandon Phillips.
And I wonder if he's thinking about that moment right now.
Well, you can rest assured Arrieta remembers it.
Well, I'm sure Brandon Phillips remembers.
Brandon tonight has twice bounced out to third. Told you Arrieta twirled the no-hitter last year. It was the first by a Cub since Carlos Zambrano in 2008. He gets ahead 0-2.
Arrieta just moving the ball around the zone at will. Shook off a breaking ball there on a 0-2 count to go to an outside fastball and got a little protection swing out of Phillips. Now they want the curveball and he wants it bouncing. And that's where he did.
They appeal. He went around. Greg Gibson said he went. Jake Arrieta has gone 7 innings of no-hit, no-run baseball at Great American Ballpark tonight. Take a look at our Honda game summary right from the first inning. The Cubs brought their hitting boots tonight. They've clubbed 5 home runs. Bryant has 2 of them. including a grand slam. He's driven in 6. Rizzo has a 3-run home run. But certainly now beginning to overshadow all the home runs and all the Cub offense is the pitching of Arrieta. He is not allowed a hit. Walked 3, fanned 5 through 7 frames tonight. It was August 30th of last year when Arrieta no-hit the Los Angeles Dodgers. Drew Hayes on for his 2nd inning of work as a major leaguer. You know, you start taking a peek around the corner, you look to the 8th. The Reds will have Bruce Mesoraco Duvall. They're a combined naturally 0-4-5 with 3 strikeouts, 1 walk to Bruce. Should you get to the 9th inning, Schebler has walked and flied out. In fact, Schebler in the game tonight is the only Red that has hit a ball that has left the infield. The only one. Mesoraco hit that little pop-up in very short left, officially caught by a left fielder. But that was a play that, you know, could have given way to a shortstop. There's a tapper to the right side. 1 out. So you'd have Schebler followed by a pinch hitter for the pitcher. And then Zach Cozart. Cozart has put the ball in play all 3 times up tonight. De Jesus takes over at second base, so there's your answer as to who's batting in the 9 spot. Joey Votto's been taken out of this game. Tyler Holt takes over in left, replacing Duvall there. You know, naturally, Jim Day, in checking in with you, you know, naturally, we were talking about this before the game today. When a player is pressing, and Votto right now is going through the longest hitless stretch of his, you know, great major league career. He doesn't have a hit in his last now 19 at bats. You know, the first thing that a player might think of or a manager might suggest is, you know, how about an off day? Apparently Votto wants nothing to do with that.
That is correct. Brian Price went to him and was talking about an off day because he's yet to have one, and Joey shot him down, said, I want to see as many pitches as I can to get out of this slump. I'm not tired. It's no excuse right now. So he could have had an off day tonight against Arrieta and chose to play. So he does not want an off day. We'll see about that going forward.
Well, you have a left-hander tomorrow night in John Lester. So, you know,
I mean,
maybe you reconsider.
For Votto, lefty and right, it really doesn't matter. I mean, but I know that Joey wants to play every day. But at some time, you just get worn out. If not physically worn down, you get mentally worn down. And there are some managers that you can talk out of a decision to take you out of the lineup. And there are other managers that don't waste your breath trying to talk them out of getting you back in the lineup if they want to give you a day off.
You know, it might surprise some. I was surprised when Joel Luckup, our statistician, handed me this note. When David Ross hit that home run to right field leading off the 6th inning, do you realize that David Roth has more home runs in this ballpark than any other player at the catching position? 29 of them.
That's amazing. Well, the Reds, you know, if you look back, I mean, the Reds have had a kind of a steady rotation of catchers that have been here for maybe 2 or 3 years and then moved on. some good ones along the way. Of course, David Ross really resurrected his career here.
Sure did. Well, there's a good inning for Hayes. 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. The Reds will have Bruce Mesoraco and Duvall coming up against Jake Arrieta, working on a no-hitter so far here tonight. An incredible value again this year. It's called the Kroger Meal Deal. Now look, you check concession stands around the ballpark and look for the Kroger Meal Deal. You get a hot dog, a bag of chips, a 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, Crave Jerky. Make sure you get to your Kroger Meal Deal next time you're at the ballpark. So Arrieta climbs the hill, line drive on the first pitch, but it'll be run down. 1 pitch and 1 out for Arrieta as we begin the bottom of the 8th inning, and he's still not allowed a hit. Tonight is the 6th time in Arrieta's career that he has taken a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Did it twice with Baltimore. In fact, he did it twice within 5 days with Baltimore. In September of 2012, once against Oakland, the other time against Seattle. He did it twice his first year with the Cubs. Once against Boston, did it 14 against the Reds, and then of course last year when he completed the no-hitter on August the 30th against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Only in 2 of them did he carry the no-hitter into the 9th inning. 1 with Baltimore and then the 1 he finished. 2 balls and a strike on Devin Mesoraco.
Well, you might say that Arrieta has done it so much or flirted so much and completed one that he might not even be nervous, but I can guarantee you the guy behind the plate who has caught a lot of major league games and has never caught a no-hitter is getting nervouser and nervouser with every pitch.
Yes. Shook off Ross there. Went with a breaking ball. Back-to-back fly balls to center. 4 outs away for Arrieta. You got to go back to 1971 when Rick Wise no-hit the Cincinnati Reds. That's his second longest streak of all time.
Rick Wise not only hit the no-hit the Reds that night, but he also hit 2 home runs to boot.
The longest streak all time without being no-hit belonged to the Cubs until last season. He had to go all the way back to when Sandy Koufax pitched a perfect game against him. It is 0-2 now on Duvall, who has struck out and popped to second base. Jake Arrieta will go to the 9th inning with a chance to pitch his second career no-hitter. 8 no-hit innings, 6 strikeouts. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Get major league coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year alone. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Well, the Cubs batting here in the 9th inning is kind of like a warm-up band you don't want to hear before the headline act. So many of the fans, and many of them wearing Cub blue, are standing and not anticipating this top of the 9th, but hoping the bottom of the 9th comes soon, because it's all about this guy. You brought up earlier when Rick Wise threw the no-hitter against the Reds, going all the way back to 71. He hit 2 home runs in a game. Now Arrieta has not hit 2 home runs in a game, but he does have 2 hits, a walk, and a run scored. He is facing the new Reds pitcher Blake Wood. Wood making his 9th appearance. He had a chance to come into the game yesterday to protect a 3-run lead. He allowed a hit, a walk, and then that was all for him. And the runs wound up scoring. That is a fair ball, and Mesoraco will tag out Arrieta. Our Volkswagen drive of the game, the second home run of the night by Chris Bryant. Hit a 2-run home run in the first and a grand slam in the 7th. Arrieta will make the bid to throw the 15th no-hitter in Chicago Cubs history. You know, it's interesting. We talked about how long the Cubs went, the longest streak in the history of baseball without being no-hit. They also went forever without pitching a no-hitter. The late Milt Pappas just this week passed away. Had a perfect game in the 9th inning going back to 1972. He walked Larry Stahl with 2 outs in the 9th. To end a perfect game, he wound up getting the final out for a no-hitter. So that was 72. They would not have another until 2008 when it was done by Zambrano. Two balls and a strike on Fowler. The only Cub to ever no-hit the Reds was Kenny Holtzman. Remember him? Left-hander who wound up pitching so brilliantly for the Oakland Athletics, including that '72 World Series win over the Reds. 2 outs here in the 9th. After each and every game, we invite you to stick around right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live, Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, Chris Welsh and company. Brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll look ahead to the bottom of the 9th inning. The Reds will have Schebler, De Jesus. There's a base hit by Hayward. His 2nd hit tonight, 4th time he's been on base. It'll be Schebler, De Jesus, Cozart, the scheduled trio. The Reds did not make a double switch when they brought in De Jesus, so I beg your pardon. The Reds still have technically the pitcher spot due up. And if you're looking at options on the bench, you have Billy Hamilton, Tucker Barnhart. Breaking ball away. Three balls and no strikes. Been a big night for Bryant. Came into this series with just 2 home runs on the year. He has 3 hits, 2 of them home runs, has knocked in 6, scored 3.
And he has a handful of very nice defensive plays.
Sure does. Serves one into right field, a base hit.
Well, that's good hit.
Well, we said it last week when we saw the Cubs, if you remember, and they had Zobrist batting in a 3-hole. We made the comment at the time, that is not going to last. I mean, Zobrist is a very good player, but there is just too much thunder up and down this lineup to not have Rizzo or Bryant hitting in a 3-hole.
Really a great way to put it, with the way they take walks and the way they hit home runs.
Rizzo hits one down the left field line. And did not have enough on it to get out of the yard, although he had one back in the 6th inning to the seats in right with 2 aboard. Two on, 2 out. Cubs leading 13-0. But the story is Jake Arrieta 3 outs away from a no-hitter. Whether he gets it or not, it is going to be very interesting to hear some of the comments from Arrieta after the game tonight. He has not walked 3 batters in a game since August of last year. He walked 3 in the first 5+ innings of this game tonight. That's a foul ball. You better pick it up.
That's a strike 3.
Boy, I beg your pardon, a strike 3, and he gets away from the catcher.
That's even worse than a foul ball.
I looked up, saw it trickling, then realized, nope. So I beg your pardon. So now they're loaded for Soler. And now the batter,
Matt Scherzer,
will be Matt Caesar. So Caesar batting for Soler. Soler 1 hit tonight and 5 at bats. He had a double. And there's a base hit into right that'll score 1. They're gonna just put up the stop sign on the runner at third. Not trying to, add insult to injury here. They just put the stop sign up for Bryant. So Caesar gets in on the hit parade. 14-0. That was scored, by the way, a strikeout and a pass ball charged to Devin Mesoraco. Well, here's Zobrist. He homered as a right-handed batter, the opposite way to right in the 2nd. Line to third, single, walked and bounced out to Brandon Phillips. Shot into left center field. That'll bring in a couple of runs on a double by Zobrist. 16-0.
Boy, it started out so good, or so well. When Blake Wood started this inning, Jake Arrieta led off. He made it out. Dexter Fowler made it out. And no one has made it out since.
The most runs ever by a winning team in a no-hitter. Only two of them have occurred in the modern era. There's a ground ball to short, and that will stop the bleeding. Here we go. Arrieta tries to twirl the 15th no-hitter in Chicago Cubs history, and his second wearing a Cub uniform. 3 outs away. You think about great plays that are made behind him. There really have only been a couple of really good plays in this game. That's a good one. 2-hop throw, and Rizzo the pick ahead of Cozart. And then this one after a runner was picked off. And remember, Chris, you pointed out at the time, if Suarez is not picked off, that's a base hit by Votto. So here we go in the bottom of the 9th inning. Arrieta throws his 104th pitch of the game. He no-hit the Los Angeles Dodgers last year on August the 30th. He faces Scott Schebler. Tucker Barnhart stands in the on-deck circle. Two on Schebler. In the modern era, that's since 1901. Only one Cub pitcher has thrown more than one no-hitter. And that was Kenny Holtzman. Did it to the Reds in '71 after no-hitting Atlanta in '69. Now you can go way back in the late 1800s when Larry Corcoran threw 3 of them. But here Jake Arrieta is trying to twirl his second no-hitter of his career, both as a member of the Chicago Cubs. 3-2 pitch on the way, and he walks a leadoff man. Second time he's walked Schebler, and the 4th walk overall in the game.
Which for a lot of pitchers is no big deal, but for Jake Arrieta, that's a headline in the making when you walk 4 in one ball game.
Now look, in a tighter game, Rizzo's holding the runner on at first. 16-0, not even worried about the runner. They're trying to cover up every hole. Tucker Barnhart, the game-winning hit yesterday over Colorado, trying to get the first hit for the Reds in a game tonight. He's down a strike.
Well, he did what he did when he was the hero yesterday, which is go after that first pitch that he saw. Yesterday, lined it into right field for the game winner.
Tonight is only the second no-hitter that has reached the 9th inning in the history of Great American Ballpark. The other, Homer Bailey, cashed in the goods on July the 2nd of 13. Straight up in the air. This should be the first out of the 9th. Russell, 1 out. In the history of baseball, there are 294 officially recognized no-hitters. 251 of those have occurred since 1901, the modern era. 7 were thrown in Major League Baseball last year. Here's Cozart. Interesting to note, Cozart is the only Red who has a hit in every game which he has played this season. So here you have Arrieta working on a no-hitter, and Cozart trying to keep a 10-game hitting string alive. Shallow center field, 2 outs. The last no-hitter thrown in baseball was on October the 3rd last season by Max Scherzer. The one before that was thrown by Jake Arrieta. Here's a Eugenio Suarez with 2 outs in the 9th, and Arrieta an out away from a no-hitter. Suarez has bounced to first, drawn a walk, and grounded to third. I tell you, it is eerie. You could have heard that proverbial pin drop before he threw that 0-1 pitch. It won't be the case now. A strike away, an out away from a no-hitter is Jake Arrieta. Dana DeMuth going to make him earn it right down to that final drop. One and two on Suarez. Fastball at 94 misses. The Reds have not been no-hit since June the 23rd, 1971. 7,109 regular season games ago. They were no-hit in the playoffs, of course. Now the 2-2 to Suarez. This should do it. And Jake Arrieta has no-hit the Reds on this April 21st, 2016. Second career no-hitter for Jake Arrieta. The other coming against the Dodgers last August 30th. Second no-hitter ever thrown in this ballpark. Ironically, the other thrown by the guy, Chris, as you pointed out earlier, that Jake Arrieta lives very close to and works out with during the offseason, and that would be Homer Bailey.
And probably we'll get a call from Homer Bailey tonight of congratulations.
Miller time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. The final out on a historic night for Jake Arrieta. We talked from the beginning of the game, Chris, and the numbers this guy has been putting up going back to the All-Star break of last year. There are few pitchers that have ever had the kind of run that Arrieta is on now. 24 straight quality starts. This the nearly ultimate quality start. This guy is right now today. You can talk about anybody else you want to talk about. He is the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, not just on this day, but right now coming into the game tonight.
Well, he's got such a string going of dominance. It's a perfect example of a pitcher that has completely dedicated himself to his trade, was given a lot of ability in the very first place. But to be able to do what he has done time and time again, going back really to about mid-season last year, completely dominate the opposition. The times he takes no-hitters into ball games, he's one of these pitchers that you say he's got no-hit stuff every time out, but you really mean it.
Yep.
When you're talking about Jake Arrieta.
Yep. So he joins Max Scherzer, Tim Lincecum, Homer Bailey, and Justin Verlander as one of 5 active pitchers to have thrown 2 no-hitters. All right. So it's time for Reds Live. Reds on the short end of a 16-0 game. A no-hitter pitched tonight by Jake Arrieta.